Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, I worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day for you. It's time to sing His song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing till the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, I worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. You're rich in love and You're slow to anger. Your name is great and Your heart is kind. For all Your goodness, I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, I worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end was near and my time has come, still my soul will sing Your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, I worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, I worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. Yes, I will worship Your holy name. Lord, I worship Your holy name.
Are you going through a traumatic experience? Does all hope seem lost? Are you looking for a way out? Then these books are for you. Mama Grace. He gave me comfort through the storm. All by Ayum Ejiga. These books are available in paperbacks, Kindle versions, and audiobooks on all Amazon websites worldwide and other online bookstores. You can also find the audiobooks on Audible and iTunes. So take heart. These books will show you the way out of trauma to triumph. And you will have the last laugh.
Oh my God, I was on mute all the while and I didn't know. I'm so sorry about that. So, can you hear me now? I want you to put in the chat if you can hear me now. Okay, yeah, you can hear me. Okay, that is great. Thank you so much for letting me know that. All this while I was speaking to myself. Okay, so let me just start again since I was speaking to myself all the while. So once again, welcome to Live Chat with Ayum. I do this every Saturday, 1 p.m. UK time. And if today is your first time of joining me, I want to say very big welcome to you. So if you are watching this on Facebook or you are watching us on YouTube, I want you to please like us if you're on Facebook or subscribe to our YouTube channel if that is where you are watching from right now. And the reason for doing that is that anytime we upload a new video or we go live like this, you'll be notified. So I started on the subject of self-esteem and self-image last week, and I'm going to continue on that subject today. So if you missed last week teaching, you can still go back on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel. You'll be able to catch up on the video. So last week I was speaking about understanding what self-esteem and self-image is all about and how it affects us. So today I'm going to be talking on 10 signs of a low self-esteem. 10 signs of a low self-esteem. Sometimes we may have self-esteem and we are not, we may have a low self-esteem and we are not even conscious of it. Because one thing I believe, which is what there's a saying in the world that any problem identified is half solved. Because when you can identify your problem, then you know that, okay, this is what I need to deal with. This is how I now need to go about dealing with the problem. So if we can identify these signs of a low self-esteem, it will help us now, because next week now we'll move on to how we can begin to deal with the self-esteem now that we identify that, yes, I'm still dealing with a low self-esteem in one area or the other in our life. And the truth is that every one of us at one point or the other have dealt with a low self-esteem. Many of us still have low self-esteem in one area or the other in our life. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I have had to deal with low self-esteem, and there are still times that it still shows up in my life. But identifying the signs help me to begin to combat it and deal with it so that it doesn't keep me back, it doesn't hold me back. Because one of the things that a low self-esteem will do is that it will prevent you from fulfilling your potential. It will stop you from being all that you can be. It will stop the best from coming out of you. And it will also stop you from living a fulfilled life. And that is not what God's plan is for you at all. So we know that a low self-esteem is when we lack confidence in our worth. We feel as if we are not worthy. We undervalue ourselves. We don't feel good about ourselves. That is what a low self-esteem is all about. And I told us last week that a self-image is the way we see ourselves. I gave an example of the Israelites when they went to spy the land of Canaan, and they came back with a negative report that we were like grasshoppers. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own sight. And that was the way we also seemed to the people that we went to view the land. And that is the way a low self-esteem and self-image plays out in our life. You undervalue yourself. You see yourself as nothing. You see yourself as very low. How can a human being say that I seemed like a grasshopper before these people? And then the way I seem is the way that I think they also look at me. But that is not the truth, because a low self-esteem is just playing and lying to us. So what are the signs of a low self-esteem? There are other signs, but I've just come up with this 10. The first one is that you treat yourself badly. When a low self-esteem is at play in your life, because you don't value yourself or because you undervalue yourself, you don't take good care of yourself because you don't see yourself worthy of taking care of yourself. And then the second one is that sometimes you go about consuming substances that is harmful to you. Many people that use drugs suffer from a low self-esteem. They want something that will make them feel high. They want something that will make them feel good. And that is why they go into substance abuse. So a low self-esteem will make you to begin to indulge in habits, taking things that are harmful to you. but because maybe of the way it's making you to feel at that time that you are taking it, or because you don't even care. You don't care what they, sometimes you just say, I damn the consequences, and then you do certain things to yourself. That is a sign of a low self-esteem. The third sign of a low self-esteem is that when you are in negotiations, maybe you're in a business negotiation or you're trying to negotiate for an employment, you always undercut yourself. And the reason you do that is because you feel that you are not good enough. So you undercut yourself, you underprice yourself. And there's a quote that I found very valuable. And that quote says that if you place a small value on yourself, you can be sure that the rest of the world will not raise the price. If you place a small value on yourself, be rest assured that the rest of the world will not raise the price. And I've experienced this many times when I go out to the market to shop. Like in the UK, we have street markets where sometimes they bring things from designer shops and they sell on the street. And sometimes maybe you've seen a dress in the shop for £500, but because they've brought it to the street, they reduce the price maybe to £50. And when you see it in your mind, you're excited and you say, wow, look at this dress I saw for £500. It's now £50. And you want to get it, but you don't want the seller to know your excitement, so that because you still want to bargain the price. And then you come and say, oh, can I pay you £30? And the guy is saying, no, this is the value of it. And sometimes the price tag is even there, but you are still trying to negotiate. And at the end of the day, maybe he may reduce £10 for you and you may get it for £40. And you go about so happy, you show your friends, you tell everybody that you care to share the news with, that this is the good bargain that I got today. And the reason why I'm sharing is that even though you know that the price of that item that you got is £500, because the person selling it was selling it for £50, you did not raise the price, but rather you still try to beat it down. And that is the way it is, that if we place a low value on ourselves, the rest of the world is not going to raise the price. As a matter of fact, people will even want to price you down. So let us now begin to identify this so that we can begin to work on it. And then another sign of a low self-esteem, the number 4 sign that I have here, is that you rate everybody higher and better than yourself. You rate everybody higher and better than yourself. Remember that last week I was telling us some of the things that lead to a low self-esteem. And I said that sometimes it's the environment that we grow up, and then sometimes it's the experiences that we have. And I know that when I went through certain experiences in my life, there were times I saw that my confidence was shattered in some instances, and I found that a low self-esteem began to play out in my life. That when I come around some people, sometimes I just find myself becoming uncomfortable and thinking that they are better than me. And I've come to realize that, yes, this is a sign. And thank God that I was able to catch it and I began to work on myself. So that is why I say I'm sharing this with you today, so that you can identify these signs and then you can also begin to work on it. That, yes, each time you think everybody is better than you, everybody is higher than you, even though you know you are highly educated, you know that you have these qualifications, you know that you have what it takes, but you still find yourself feeling low, feeling as if you are not good enough. That is a sign of a low self-esteem. And then the fifth sign I want to give to us is that when you are in the presence of great people, and of course, great in quotes, because every one of us is great. But of course, maybe there are some people that have made some significant progress in life. They've achieved great things. They've done some things. When you come into their presence, you lose your composure. You become uncomfortable. When you are talking, you just find yourself maybe shaking, find yourself stammering. You that don't used to stammer before, because you feel low in the presence of those people. You feel as if those people are high up there and then you are low down here. That is a sign of a low self-esteem. And we need to begin to deal with it, because God created every one of us equal. Even though some people have been able to maybe utilize their potential and they've gotten to where they are right now, you also have great gifts that when you begin to work on yourself, you can also begin to do great things. And one of the things I tell myself now is that I love to come in contact with great people. I love to come into the company of great people because it encourages me to know the possibilities that there are in my life. Knowing that if somebody can be ahead of me, that gives me hope that if I continue to work on myself, I can also get to where that person is. So in the past, I used to be intimidated when I come in contact with great people. But now, when I come in contact with them, I get inspired. In fact, I am inspired and I want to even come into their presence so that I can learn from them. I can be inspired and my hope can be rekindled. Also, hearing their stories, because I know that there's no great person that doesn't have a story of struggles. There's no great person that doesn't have a story of going through difficult challenges and overcoming them. So know that no human being is higher than the other. God has created us equally. People may be doing better in their jobs or may be doing well financially, but that doesn't make them higher than you. So each time you begin to feel like this, know that this is a sign of a low self-esteem. And then the number 6 sign of a low self-esteem that I have here is that you try to fit in or do things or sometimes even say things that you don't like or even believe in. People that have low self-esteem, they always want to just fit in. And this happens, it happens, or in fact, it happens at all ages. It may be very prevalent, maybe around among young people when they are in school, or and then their classmates are doing things, and then because they don't want to be left out, they join, even though that is not what they believe in. That is what they know that they should not be doing. Maybe you've been brought up, you've been taught some values, but because everybody is doing things this way, you also fall in and you begin to do it this way. And I was reading an article one time, and they were asking about people that some young girls that have had sex for the first time. And many of them say that the reason why they yielded to having sex is because they wanted to be acceptable by their peers. That is a sign of a low self-esteem. I know that we live in an environment that puts a pressure on people, but we need to also understand that yes, you have your own values and you need to stand for what you believe. You don't need you don't need to give in or succumb to any pressure that is around you. And that is why every one of us need to also build our network of people of like value so that we can continue to encourage ourselves. So each time you always see yourself wanting to fit in, you are trying to do things to impress people, you just want to fit in, even when they are doing things or using certain languages that you don't like, you know that you shouldn't be saying such things, you just join them to say it just because you want to fit in. That is a sign of a low self-esteem. And then the 7th sign of a low self-esteem is that you let people disrespect or abuse you and you put up with it. You let people disrespect or abuse you and you put up with it. That is a sign of a low self-esteem. And when I was reading my Bible a few days ago, I came across the story of David when his son Absalom rose against him and wanted to become king. And David, that was very confident, was a man of war. There was no battle that David goes into that he doesn't come back victorious. As a matter of fact, it was because of this victory and this confidence that he had that he won his heart into the people of Israel. And eventually he became king in place of Saul. That even when Saul was king, Saul was always intimidated by David because of the great exploits that he was doing. But when he has gone through some experiences, like the experiences of him sleeping with Bathsheba and different things happening, I believe it affected his self-esteem. Because one of the things that also affect our self-esteem is that when we do what is wrong, we know that this thing is wrong, and then we don't want to pay the price to do the right thing. We do the wrong thing. It has a way of also dampening or lowering our self-esteem. And I believe that was what happened to David, that when his son rose up against him, he ran away instead of him to fight back. He ran and said, no, if we don't leave, Absalom is going to kill all of us. By daybreak, every one of us will be dead. And David ran. The Bible says he was barefooted. He was weeping. He was crying while he was running. And then when he was going, one of one of the Shimei, who was related to Saul, came and was abusing David. And you'll see this account in 2 Samuel chapter 16. From verse 5, the Bible says, As King David approached Bahurim, a man from the same clan as Saul's family came out from there. His name was Shimei, son of Gera, and he cursed David out. He pelted David and all the king's officials with stones, though all the troops and the special guard were on David's right and left. And as he cursed, he said, "Get out of here, you murderer, you scoundrel." And then he kept on abusing. And if you read on in verse 9, the Bible says that then Abishai, son of Zeruiah, said to the king, "Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over and cut off his head." And the king said, "What does this have to do, you sons of Shimea? If he's cursing because the Lord said to him, 'Curse David,' who can ask, why do you do this?" And David went on to say, "Okay, my own son has done against me. How much this?" So, what I'm even trying to bring out from there is that this is David, a man of war. This is David that there's nobody that can stand before him. You can imagine him taking down the head of Goliath just with a sling. And this is somebody, a subordinate, cursing him now because he was going through a situation. But rather than him even ordering even without him ordering this, his servants wanted to fight on his behalf, but he stopped them. He said, "Oh, maybe I deserve it. It is maybe I'm sure God is the one that's telling him to curse me. How can God tell somebody to curse you?" So those are the signs of a low self-esteem. That when you are going through a low self-esteem, you don't see your value any longer. Anybody that rises up to speak anything to you, you say, "Okay, I'm sure it's because I deserve it. It's because of maybe this that I have done or that I have done. Or it's because if this kind of thing can happen to me, then anybody can do anything they want to do to me." But I want to encourage you that we don't need to put up with this. We don't need to put up with this because that is not God's will for us. God has created every one of us special. God has, the Bible says we are carefully and wonderfully made. We are beautifully and wonderfully made. So we don't have to let anybody abuse us or mistreat us. You don't have to put up with it. I'm not saying you should fight, but you don't have to stay and subject yourself to it. So there's a way there's a way you can react. There's a way you can take yourself from that environment that you don't accept that, because that accepting that is a sign of a low self-esteem. And then the number eight way that the number eight sign of a low self-esteem is that you always find yourself trying to devalue people because you also don't value yourself. What I mean by this is that people that have low self-esteem, you always see them talking low about other people. Maybe maybe you are with them and somebody is doing so well, and maybe you just mention that person and say, "Oh, don't mind that person. He's nothing. Who does he think he is? Is it not this person that were together many years ago? I know where he came from. I know how he used to suffer." Yes, the person may used to suffer, but the person has made progress now, and you need to acknowledge it. But people that have low self-esteem, because they don't feel good about themselves, they usually are not good at acknowledging the good in others. I remember one time, I think I gave a compliment to somebody, and then the person said that it takes somebody okay, like I said, you look good. He said it takes somebody that knows how to look good to acknowledge another person. So in the same way, when you always find yourself devaluing people, putting people down, saying negative things about people, you don't have anything good to say about anybody, is simply a sign of a low self-esteem. It's because you don't feel good about yourself. You also want to bring other people down. You don't have good things to say about other people. That is a sign of a low self-esteem. And then the number nine sign of a low self-esteem is that you put up an appearance to look good and acceptable. And I mentioned earlier on that you try to fit in, but this is different from trying to fit in. This is trying to put up an act. You know that this is not me, but I'm trying to put up this appearance. I want to make people think that I have it all together. I want to make people think that I am rich. I know that, like, when we were in secondary school, there's some people that will come to school and then they'll be telling all manner of stories about how rich their parents are, about what they do, how they go on holidays, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, when you maybe sometimes you discover that that is actually a lie. Maybe something takes you around where they used to live, and you find them, and now you see them, they'll be hiding. They don't want to come out and talk to you because they don't want you to know that this is actually where I come from. But there's nothing to be ashamed about your background. You didn't, where you are coming from is not a function of your own doing, but where you will end up is a function of your doing. So whatever your background is, whoever your parents are, yes, sometimes our parents don't do things that make us feel proud of them, but that it may affect your low self, it may affect your self-esteem. But the good thing is that you can take it off. You can work on it, you can work on your mind, and you don't have to let that keep you down, because that has nothing to do with you. It is not your making. You didn't determine who your parents are. So if they are poor, if they are murderers, if they are whatever, if they are addicts, it's not your doing. But you can determine what you become. You can determine that, yes, because of this negative environment I'm coming from, I'm going to make sure that I don't raise children in this kind of environment. And that can change the trajectory of your life altogether. And that is why I say, when you see great people, ask them. They always have stories. They always have something that have challenged them, and it has made them to walk in the positive way. And that was why they did not repeat that negative story. So yes, trying to put up an appearance, you are not, you are trying to like make people think, oh, I am so good, I am so wealthy, I am so intelligent. You appear to be okay, but inwardly you know that you are not okay. That is a sign of a low self-esteem. And this takes me to my next point, which I say here that, yes, it is the number 10 point, that people that have low self esteem, they tend to lie a lot. Each time you find yourself easily telling lies, always trying to, and the reason why people tell lies is, number one, they're afraid to stand up for the truth. Number two, they want to impress people. That those are the reasons people tell lies, or they just think that, okay, yeah, because they're afraid of standing for the truth. They also sometimes afraid to face the consequences of standing up for what they believe, and therefore they tell lies. So each time you always find yourself falling into telling lies, it's a sign of a low self-esteem. It shows that you don't believe in yourself, or you don't value the values that you have. You think you don't you think you think whatever you believe in is worthless, or you think you don't have anything to say, therefore you just want to agree with the crowd, or you just want to tell lies to cover up. That is a sign of a low self-esteem. And I've given us these 10 signs now, and I know that there could be more, but these are the ones I want to share with you, that knowing these signs is not for us to just, okay, we know them, what next? What next is going to be next week, because now that we have known the signs of a low self-esteem, I'm going to tell you, beginning from next week, how we can begin to change these things. Because, like I said, you may not determine your environment, you may not have any effect, you may not have the power to change where you are coming from, but you can change where you will end up. And when you are dealing with a low self-esteem, or when you know that, yes, I'm confronted with a low self-esteem, and you don't deal with it, it can destroy you. It will stop you from being all that God wants you to be. So once again, thank you so much for joining me today. Good afternoon, Marjorie. It's good to have you with me today. God bless you. Hello, Ochanya. Thank you. Yeah, to say be inspired and not intimidated. So I love that. That's what I'm trying to say now. That, yes, people may be better than you, people may be doing well than you, but don't let that intimidate you. You also carry gold. You also are made of valuables that you are not even aware of. And that is actually the truth. The reason why the people have low self-esteem is because they don't know their worth. You don't know your worth. You are worth much more than you can see. You are worth much more than you can even realize. You are much more than you know. So I want you to know that if you reduce your price, the rest of the world is not going to raise it for you. So you better begin to raise your price. And I'm not saying you should be proud. So pride is an overestimation of yourself. But a healthy self-esteem is, you're not overestimating yourself, but rather you know that this is who I am. This is the grace that God has given to me. We all have our different graces, but you know your own. This is my own grace, and I'm going to utilize it, and I'm going to make sure that, yes, I'm a blessing to myself, I'm a blessing to people around me, and I'm a blessing to the world at large. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. And I will be with you again next week for another session of live class with AU. Until then, just continue to enjoy the rest of your day and God bless you.
Are you going through a traumatic experience? Does all hope seem lost? Are you looking for a way out? Then these books are for you. Mama Grace. He gave me comfort through the storm. All by Ayum Ejiga. These books are available in paperbacks, Kindle versions, and audiobooks on all Amazon websites worldwide and other online bookstores. You can also find the audiobooks on Audible and iTunes. So take heart. These books will show you the way out of trauma to triumph. And you will have the last laugh.